everyone, it's Jenny. Today it's a nice cool day, well, at least the morning's cool. So I have a few chores that I need to take care of here in the garden. Last weekend I was able to get out here and weed whack this section, and as you can see, my house really needs to be pressure washed. But I also have these two rain barrels, and one of them is listing to port, so I need to pull it down and repair the footers for it. But in the process of doing that, I'm also going to pressure wash the house. But I thought I would take apart the rain barrel and show you all how they work and how I have them hooked up. Everybody does something a little bit differently, but I found this setup works well for me. I do use the water. All the overflow goes into the patch down at the lower end, down the hill. It just sort of flows into that area. It gets the water away from the house, and then I also have, it stores about 60 gallons in each of these, and there's a hose bib at the bottom of each, so I can get access to all the water. And I usually just fill up a watering can, or you can hook up a hose, but my hose bibs are clogged, so I need to figure out what's going on with them. So I'm actually going to take apart the rain barrels, and I'll show you all the components and what makes a good rain barrel and what you should look for if you're going to buy one or make one. So yeah, let's get started. And while I was cleaning up, I found this big girl. Check her out. Heck yeah. I love praying mantids. I'm gonna move her out of the way. I don't want her to get smushed by any of the barrels. It's really cool. In case you're wondering, I'm not concerned. Everything slopes downhill from here, so letting them run out isn't a big issue. Now normally, if I have rain barrels right next to the foundation, I would not do this. I would hook up a hose, but everything from there goes downhill, so not too concerned about it. So while we're waiting for these to empty, and yeah, they were full. We just had a storm a few days ago and it filled them back up, but I do use them pretty regularly. I always keep spare overflow hoses, and my overflow hoses are about 1.5 inches, and they fit on the elbows on the ends. And these two are daisy chained together, so the water goes in from the downspout there, and then fills that one up first, and then dumps into the second one, and then the overflow. This is the overflow hose right here, and it's 50 feet long and goes all the way to the bottom of the garden. I have it run under the new bed that I built. Remember the Nepeta bed? It's actually underneath that bed and goes all the way to the bottom of the hill. So it's actually hidden in the pathway. I'll be unhooking that and just kind of leaving it for now, and then we'll just re-hook it back up when I fix them. They need to be cleaned out, so I'll kind of show you how to take them apart and get all the gunk out, replace components if needed, and then we'll set the standers back up right. This one's not so bad, but that one's leaning a bit, so we'll fix that one. So as you can see, the rain barrels are almost empty. I've just been doing some other things. I went and grabbed a couple of bags of pea gravel that I have stashed under my potting bench, so that I can level out these areas. There is some pea gravel underneath, but it's obviously sunken in. But my pressure washer is broken, so I can't find my mop that I usually use for getting the short sides of the house. So I have to go and get a mop so that I can mop this siding while I have the barrels down, and then we'll go from there. So I have to go to the hardware store and grab a mop. I'll just let these go while I'm doing that. So this one is a home to ants, which we have right here, and mice. So that's fun. And this one, clearly the base has broken, so I actually have a couple spare blocks. That's probably why this one was listing to port. So we'll just replace these blocks with new ones, and I'll build the base a little bit better. So to do this, I need a flathead screwdriver for mine, and it's because all the screw clamps that are holding the hoses on need a flathead. And that's pretty much it as far as tools go. This is just a little piece of hose, and I attached a screw clamp to each side so that I could daisy chain them together. I'll take it apart component by component. This is usually the component that fails. It's the spigot, because the little valve inside will sometimes freeze if you have a little bit of water in it, and then it freezes inside. And this one just has gunk in it. I have to clean it out. But I think it's still okay. It works. I mean, obviously the water came out of it. I'm gonna bring you over here. So, let's bring you into the shade. So this barrel has, it has a screen on the top, and that's to collect all the gunk from the roof. It has, I've actually put two overflows on it. These are compression fittings, so there's a piece inside the tank and then this outside, and then you screw things into them. That makes it easier because otherwise, if you're just screwing things directly into the barrel, sometimes you end up getting leaks, whereas this is, I haven't ever had any leaks from these. So see, the elbow just comes right out. But the compression fitting is still there. So you can screw different things into it if you have a straight fitting or whatever you want to put in there, as long as it's the same size. So that will go there. It's my second elbow. This one's for the overflow. So one side was overflow and one side was daisy chaining to the other barrel. And then the cool thing about these barrels is the lids come off. So it's a screw top lid, and then it has a lid system inside. And they come like this with this piece cut out, which is really handy. So see that? It's kind of like a mason jar of pickles. And these were pickle barrels. You can also find olive barrels, same kind of thing. And then I cut a piece of screen to go in it. This needs to be cleaned off. We'll just hose that off. If it has any nicks in it, I usually cut a new piece and stick it in there. It's really easy. Then it has this tray that sort of sits in there. It has big holes, which I cut to allow the water to go in. But it sort of serves as a plate for the screen so it doesn't sag. And then inside. So you can see the, let's see. You can see the compression fitting right here. And then there's 3 compression fittings, one here, and then one all the way at the bottom. And that's for the spigot. So this one needs to be cleaned out. It's got bunches of junk in it, but that's normal. So typically what I do is at the end of the season, I take the barrels apart, clean them out, and then either tip them upside down for storage or leave them on my porch. They usually go on my porch, and return my downspout back to normal for the winter. But because I need to clean this wall, I went ahead and took them apart now. I'll do it again at the end of the season. It's not really that big a deal. It doesn't take that long, but since I'm already working on this, I'm gonna go ahead and I'll dismantle the other one. The one thing to be aware of is to not lose all your parts. So put them in your pocket or in a safe place. And in the winter, I like to store them inside the barrel in like a plastic baggie or something, and that way all the components are inside, along with the hoses. They just get stored inside, and that way all the components are there in the spring when I need to go set them back up. And I haven't lost anything, nothing's stuck in a drawer somewhere and I forgot where I put it. Makes it a lot easier. So I'm gonna go ahead and get dismantling the other one, and then start cleaning this wall. And then we'll have to straighten up our blocks. Okay, so I'm back out here now that it's evening and the sun's not beating down on this corner. I leveled out my area, I laid down some pea gravel, and I started stacking my blocks. And to get those stacked up, I just have one more layer to stack in this set, and then I'll start cleaning out the rain barrels and getting them set back up. Alright, so I got the rain barrel set up. I did have to take this stack down. It was leaning a little bit. So I took it down and put down some more pea gravel and straightened it up. And then I also separated the barrels just a little bit so that the stacks would not affect each other, because I think that's one of the reasons that this one was starting to lean, is because they were together and the ground was underneath them was getting mushy. So I lengthened the the connector hose and then reattached the, this is the overflow. It's very important to have an overflow hose whenever you're putting rain barrels together, or even if you just have one. One end should always have an overflow so that if the barrel fills, it's not going to just spill out of the top, because that is what it'll do. So I'll just kind of go through what this setup is. So on this side, so you can see I've got the gutter downspout is directed to the top of this one. This one will fill, this whole barrel will fill first. Once it reaches the this shoulder, it'll start to fill this barrel. This one is slightly lower, you'll notice, and that's the reason we did that, is just for daisy chaining them together. We usually just sort of step them down. You can put as many together as you want. I like this barrel, this first one, being super high because I have a piece of the garden that's actually above it. So the higher I put it, the more gravity feed pressure I'll have, because these are all just gravity fed. I don't have a pressurized anything in here. There's no pump or anything. You just turn on the spigot and go. There's no water in these right now, but at any rate, so the one end I put a plug on, and then the chain, if you were just going to do this one barrel, you would put the overflow hose here, but since I have them chained together, the overflow hose is here. And remember I said it goes, I can show you actually where it goes, excuse the mess, but here's actually that's it right there. This is the hose, goes underneath that garden and then down the hill. So that's how I have mine rigged up. Everybody's got a different situation, so yours may look different, but I've had these for years and they've served me very well. I have never had any issues with them spilling out of the top, because I maintain that overflow hose pretty well. And then also cleaning out the downspout and the tops every once in a while, that will help keep everything clear too. And like I said, this garden, sometimes it gets pretty dry, especially my raised beds, which I have a few of now. So it's handy to have the rain barrel water to just, there's no hose bib over on this side. So this is my watering facility on this side. So I hope that was helpful for you all. If you have any questions about rain barrels. Oh, and the main thing, forgot to tell you, make sure that whatever rain barrel you buy or make, the spigot is all the way at the bottom, because if you put the spigot here in the middle so that you can get pressure, you won't be able to get this bottom part of the water, this whole bottom part of the tank. So be sure to put your spigot all the way at the bottom, and then just raise the barrels up on blocks or build a deck for it or something. Just remember that it weighs, if it's a 60-gallon barrel, it's going to weigh about 500 pounds or so. And so together, these weigh about 1,000 pounds. So whatever materials you put down, make sure that they can handle the weight. So those are my lessons about rain barrels. And I hope you all have a really happy gardening day. And I will catch you outside.